right? Most people just want attention. They want to be seen. They get a dose of dopamine off of that. Let's see what Cutie Cinderella had to say about the dark side of streaming before we get to the other news now. Tonight is the night of the Streamer Awards. Let's take a look.
One of the worst things you can do as like a people pleaser, because you will never please everybody. I didn't know that. If I went back and was able to whisper in my ear, would say, don't do it. It is not the safest job in the entire world. Unfortunately, you are having like a one-sided conversation at all times, and you never know how someone's going to interpret that.
I immediately went to the comments because I assumed that as soon as someone like Cutie Cinderella is talking about the downsides of streaming, there's going to be hella people in the comments being like, oh, rich streamer complaining about how wonderful and privileged she is and how amazing her life is. You know?
Unfortunately, some people can have some delusions, and that leads to some safety issues for yourself. And even just like swatting is something that's incredibly scary and has happened to us multiple times, unfortunately. But I think that's a scary.
She's a millionaire. That insulates her some. This is what I mean. Bro, you can, first of all, you know, a lot of streamers' finances are much better than the average person, average 9-to-5er for sure, but it's not as good as you think it is. Okay, that's number one. Number two, that doesn't mean she should get swatted and constantly tormented. Do you not understand? Like, it's okay. Like a lot of you build a healthy level of resentment towards those who have money. Okay, this is a healthy level of resentment. Except you have to also have to develop a smarter attitude about the context and the nuance of the things that you are actually looking at, right? The things that you're actually factoring in. If you think, sorry, Hasan, we are poor, I know, but that doesn't mean chatters. This is something that I've talked about. With everybody yelling at me back in the day, all the way back in 2021 when I bought a house for myself and my family, right? Like a lot of people were like, F you rich socialist. Okay. And I, at the time, said it's healthy to develop a resentment towards those who are wealthy. But you also have to remember, like, you know, how much control does Cutie have over the machinations of capitalism? None whatsoever. Okay. None whatsoever. Twitch streamers are simply accessible. Okay. That's it. So at a certain point, you have to remember, like, am I yelling at this Twitch streamer because they're actually doing something that is up? Or am I yelling at this Twitch streamer because they're the only person who will see it? Because, you know, there is a difference between Twitch streamers and, I don't know, Mark Zuckerberg or the average CEO even. And I think a lot of people fail to make that distinction, and they direct their anger and animosity towards those who they know will hear it. And it's, like I said, a byproduct of having a level of healthy resentment towards those who are successful, those who have actually made it in a system that is very dog eat dog, in a system that is designed to basically wear you down to the bone. But I always say that the anger is oftentimes misplaced when it's directed towards people like Cutie Cinderella or Twitch streamers in general. Of course, people will, you know, whatever I say in this circumstance, go through one ear and out through the other. People say, says you. You're only saying this because you want people to get off your ass, when in fact we will hold you accountable or something like that. No, I've been saying this for many, many years. And the reason why I've been saying this is because you're not doing praxis when you do shit like this. You're just simply chirping. You're chirping as someone who has a much similar class position to someone like yourself. And the reason why you're doing it there is because you and I both know that yelling about Elon Musk is not actually going to change anything.
Serious thing is just you're letting people into this version of you online, and you never know what.
Commentators in general nowadays.
Hi, my name is Emma. This is my impression of the average Twitter discourse nowadays. Such a fun day with my friends. We went to a restaurant that I have been dying to try, and then ended the night with a movie night and some cocktails back at our apartment.
Yeah, replies and quotes being like, this is a bad time. It's tone deaf for you to promote this kind of thing.
I'm too physically exhausted to do anything after work on a Wednesday, so you're either unemployed or you're living off of daddy's money. Most people don't get to go out to dinner on a weekday, and this is really rude of you to show. Cocktails? in the middle of the week. This is setting unrealistic expectations. Not everybody has friends. Not everybody lives close to a restaurant. I would bet that every single person in that picture hates each other. And I bet the food...
What is this? Kendra mentioned me in her live stream. Oh, God. My queen. It seems like bot farms trying to stir up discourse and drama. These people cannot be real. No, it's real. It's all over TikTok too. It's just straight up. I think it's because people are just very desperate and people are lonely and people are sad. And this is the only way that they can express their sadness, by just being like, by simply being like, I'm in a shitty ass mood. How can I actually make other people also get into a shitty ass mindset in the way that I am? And if there's enough people with that same kind of shitty ass mindset, they will highlight this. They will hype it up.
Is not normal.
For the record, the thing is, I don't think, while I understand the systematic factors at play, I'm not going to sit here and also baby people for having this kind of opinion or having this kind of like expression. Do you see what I mean? And it's a tightrope. It's a delicate balance, and I understand that, but you know, there is a back and forth here. There's a back and forth here, and then, you know, sometimes you just got to call it out a little bit, right? To be fair, Unc, if you post something online, you got to be able to take the flame. No, telling me that shit. Are you kidding me? I know. My point always is, I understand the systemic factors at play that make people feel like this and make people desperate, but also they should, you know, try to hyper focus on more productive avenues, okay? This is why I always try to redirect people back to organizing in their communities. Okay, the poors are envious. Yes, that's not what I said. What are you talking about? Oh my God, why are you doing this to me? Why? Why is this every day? This is not productive discourse. Professionally misunderstanding a content creator in the most cynical framework is not actually moving the needle in the appropriate direction in your life either. That's like unironically the entire point that I was making, and you are proving the point that I'm making. There's never been a moment where I said any of those things or even implied any of those things, and yet here you are straight up doing that. A lot of you are doing that, actually. Every argument devolves into, I like pancakes. Oh, so you hate waffles. I know that, man. We get it, Jesus Christ. I don't think you get it because you're doing the thing that I'm talking about. Anyway, is outrage culture and rage bait mixed with concern trolling? I know. Anyway, let's get back to this now.
What they're going to latch on to. I think that's scary for people that you don't know. And then for people that you do know, as they watch you become like this online influencer, it's really sad to see sometimes how you could know someone for years, but then they start watching your clips and your content, and this version, this entity that you are, replaces everything that they've ever known about you. What I show online is a very exaggerated version of who I really am for the sake of like entertaining people. And so that's one thing that always kind of makes me sad, is it's just like, dang, I just wish, I wish instead of like people in my normal life, instead of watching a clip to see how I am, they would just call me or text me or whatever, It's this really weird thing where you're like available all the time to everybody, but that's not you. That's an entity that you've created. It's been interesting for like a mental health perspective as well, because it's almost like a forced multiple.
Dude, look at this. Don't focus on me and my friends. Ironically, I literally said that. Okay, turns out we don't agree with you, dog. Hasan is dumbfounded. He can't change our minds. Boo-hoo. This is heartbreaking. How does she do it? You're right. I agree with most of your takes, but this is hyperbole. No, you don't understand that you are also leaning into the toxicity by yelling about a person who has no power over your life. That's the whole point. It's not a woe is me situation. The BBC is directly asking this person like what the downsides are of Twitch streaming or just like this environment that we're in. You have to also understand that like we're not, actors on a screen. We're just like real people.
Personality. When you're an actor, you have a role that you're playing.
Just the chatter is right. Who
you
cares
are
about
Batman.
this? Just be a professional victim. Amazing. Oh my God. Once again, this entirely revolves around. This is the thing I don't understand. Why the do you guys watch streamers if you just hate them? Like, I don't really understand that. If you hate people, why the do you watch them all the goddamn time? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Do you not understand that that is like making your mindset worse overall? Like consistently watching someone that you hate is putting you in a worse mental space than you otherwise would be if you didn't watch someone that you hate all the time.
And so be Batman. And it's easier to separate compared to like, I'm Blair, but when I push go live, I'm Cutie Cinderella. What does that mean? Right. And so it's a really interesting thing that luckily I've had a lot of therapy and I've been able to kind of navigate it. But it is, a lot of people don't think about that.
Do you fear for your safety?
I do think, for the record, the worst part about this kind of unhealthy attitude that people have is that there are genuinely a bunch of content creators who lean into that to make themselves feel like they're closer to you, to also lean into this like negative perception, to be like, yeah, actually, these guys are chirping. They deserve this kind of thing. Oh, woe is me. And they're super rich. Like, they deserve it. Meanwhile, they are super rich and they're basically trying to redirect your attention to other people. They're trying to make it seem like they're closer to you when in fact they're gearing on this kind of hate watching. They're farming it. They're farming you. Okay? Nobody gives a nobody here wants to learn about how hard your job is. Put the news in the bag, little bro. Jesus Christ, dude. Calm down. I'm an incredibly fortunate person. Okay? I talk about my privilege all the time. You're just an asshole. What the I mean, you can keep watching. You just can't chirp anymore.
At times when you're in this kind of public eye, and or what
also this is news. This is a BBC story.
Like as a popular female streamer.
Yeah, it's scary. Like, to be 100% honest, I could open my Instagram DMs right now and read you 100 horrible things about why or how I could be harmed by these people, essentially. Which is
horrible. I mean, that's
it's weird. I own a craft store that I opened last January. I opened it up, so I have like a public facing brick and mortar because I thought it'd be a fun, I love crafting, so I thought it'd be fun. Unfortunately, it's gotten to the point where I can't.
If you want to sincerely understand, people watch because they want you / streamers to live the lives you lead, and then they get upset when you complain. It's very one-dimensional. Don't think too deep about it, to be honest. People want a simple and ideal, non-complex aspirations without downsides to believe in. I mean, I guess. Streamer Culture is a Time Bomb by Dr. K. He made a video on this. Celebrities have always been, celebrities have always been seen as like animals in a zoo. The thing with Twitch streamers in general, though, is that they're infinitely more accessible. So like all the fandom that's created around like a traditional Hollywood celebrity is perfectly manufactured. It's perfectly manicured. They are designed by PR groups, right? Whether it be relationships or things of that nature. And there's also a level of healthy separation between a traditional Hollywood celebrity and their legions of fans, right? And the legions of fans also make up the idolized version, this completely manufactured version of the celebrity. So their expectations of all celebrities is far different. And this extends to Twitch streamers as well. Although Twitch streamers are closest, I would say, to like the average person in the entire entertainment sphere, from musicians and actors and, all these other different types of celebrities, Twitch streamers are the most accessible. And that's precisely the reason why there is a parasocial relationship that develops with these Twitch streamers, because they're like, oh, he's just like me. He's just talking into a mic. And it's true. There's truth to that. We are just incredibly lucky, right? And I think that is part of the reason why a lot of people develop this like a very strange attitude where they go from feeling a sense of loyalty or a sense of love towards their favorite streamers to like a sense of resentment. And it can snap very quickly. It can turn into bitterness and anger and resentment and hatred, like a scorned lover. Exactly. And oftentimes all it takes is like one thing for people to flip. This is part of the reason why I think a lot of people are very worried about talking about divisive topics on this platform, right? There's a lot of content creators who try to be as political as possible. And I don't mean talking about politics. I mean, be as political as possible with the relationships that they have with other content creators and not talking about certain things, knowing full well that if they do talk about certain things, they have the capacity to alienate people. Part of that is because of the financial incentive, but part of that is also because, they're worried about people snapping on them and then becoming like massive stalkers. Yeah, diplomatic. When I say political, I mean diplomatic. I think that this space in general does create this medium in general, because there's so much back and forth communication with the audience, this medium in general creates this puppet master micromanagement, this unhealthy relationship that revolves around micromanaging your favorite content creator. And it can be something as simple as like people being like, oh, I don't like the way you dress today, down to, you know, trying to interfere in your life in a very meaningful way that goes into like obsessively stalking and cyber stalking a content creator and trying to ruin their lives. I think that's where it comes from. But ultimately, this is the point. Most people just want to be seen, right? Most people just want attention. They want to be seen. They get a dose of dopamine off of that. And some people that move in the opposite direction, and the direction of like hate watching, without realizing it, I think, become like they just develop a really, really unhealthy relationship with the content that they're consuming. Why do you always address these things? Because I think it's healthy to talk about this sort of stuff with the hopes that some people that might find themselves in leaning into that side of the internet can maybe pull themselves out of it before they fall victim to these sorts of unhealthy communities. Because like it's no different. What I'm explaining to you is basically no different than like someone innocently typing something in the chat to maybe warn a streamer or whatever in a positive way, not in a negative way at all. But the maximalist position on that is like swatting a Twitch streamer while they're live streaming, for example. That is like the ultimate way of manipulating a streamer's life. A lot of people basically get off on the interactions that they force with a streamer. And if they don't get that from, if they can't get that from like a back and forth conversation with the streamer, they look for more and more extreme versions, like more and more extreme examples. This is called cleanup. A lot of people get upset when I do it, but I think it's valuable to do it every now and then.
Can't go there because we've had men show up looking for me specifically in an unsafe way. And it's even like had to make me hesitate to see how long I can keep it open, because it's just because I don't want it to be unsafe for my employees. And so it's always top of mind. I think like one of the reasons I publicly announced that I wasn't going to the Twitch convention, because I did want to, things haven't been going great. Unfortunately, part of like some contracts I had, but I publicly said that with the intention of throwing people off my trail.
Is there something, that if you could tell yourself starting out streaming, what would it be? Is there something that you wish you kind of knew when you got into all of this?
You know what's funny? I have the worst advice for this. Okay. I always describe it. I describe it as like streaming is one of the worst things you can do as like a people pleaser, because you will never please everybody. And I didn't know that. So the biggest thing I wish I could do, if I went back and was able to whisper in my ear, would say, "Don't do it."
Really,
do it.
even
Yeah.
with all the kind of benefits, that you feel like no, it's
this funny thing, because now that you're deep, I mean, this is my job, and it's a very hard one to leave, right? Because I'd feel guilty. I have an audience, I have success, I have, who am I to throw away this incredible opportunity? And so there's a lot of things that I think about, but it's hard. It's hard when I say it's like death by 1,000 cuts. One paper cut can't kill you, but when you get it again and again and again and again and again, it's hard to stay standing. It does get to you, no matter how much, like, I don't read comments. I avoid it like the plague, but there's only so much you can do when my job is to be online. My job isn't to go on stage and sing or to be in a movie. My job is to read a Twitch chat and interact with them. And
yeah, there is truth to this. Like when the medium itself, when you're a part, this is why I say Twitch streaming is like the bottom of the barrel in the entertainment industry, like straight up. It's the bottom of the barrel in the entertainment industry because there's no separation, because the entire content or the entire medium revolves around having a back and forth real-time correspondence with your community, right? The difference between myself and maybe other people that talk about this stuff is that I will always try to offer some systemic analysis as to why this is happening. And I will also try to give you an alternative. And the alternative, unfortunately, for a lot of people is something that they don't want to hear, especially when they're online, where the alternative is to seek out real world interactions and a sense of community in the real world. This is the the healthiest option, right? The healthiest option is to not lean into what you are lacking by basically leaning into creating more of a sense of community online, but instead to, you know, organize, get a job, do stuff that's in the real world so that you can kind of have a healthier balance of this stuff. Yeah. I'm sorry, Hasan, but I have little empathy for this. She can quit and retire. McDonald's employee also has to deal with shit every day at work, but if they quit, they starve. Oh my God. You also have to understand that she's not the reason why the McDonald's employee has no benefits. That's the point I'm trying to make to you. Okay? All this is an attempt to basically justify why you have this resentment. Like no one, and I mean no one, including Cutie Cinderella, has said that, you know, a McDonald's employee has it sweet. You know what I mean? No one is saying that. You're matching this up against the thing that people aren't saying. 0 people think that. 0 people have said that. Before you started your streaming career, did you see it as a full-time job? A real job? No, I did not. And not only that, but I also never thought that I would get to this point in my career in general. Like I never thought my goal was to become the largest political content creator, but even that was an aspirational goal. I never thought that I would become one of the largest content creators in general while still doing politics, you know? Streamers can do anything else if it's too much. You can choose to do anything else. It's true. It's true. I can state whatever I feel like, chatters. You can, but also you can get backlash for it too, just so you understand. Like people have the capacity, just like you can say these things, people can, you know, say that you're wrong. But like I said, I understand where it comes from. And that is because you're looking at a person who is like not that dissimilar to you, that has been able to literally win the lottery. And not only have they won the lottery, but they're basically winning the lottery every day in front of you in real time. Of course, it's going to create resentment. I totally get it.
Do that live. And I'm like a vocal processor. And so at times I'm speaking before I'm thinking, and that's bad because I'm live. And then you never know how that's going to be taken contextually and cut up and used against you. And it's just like, it's hard because you have to just, everything has to be so meticulous and thought out and like contrived in order to be 100% like safe online. And that's just not my personality, and I can't do that. And I like to be me, and I'm a human and I make mistakes. And it's just hard when people lose that humanity and they forget that you're human and you make mistakes, right? And then they hold stuff against you for years. Like you could have gotten mad at a video game and thrown your water bottle 4 years ago, and they'll still bring up that you had anger issues. And you're like, wow, that's like just one moment of, you know, a lapse in judgment, and that people will hold it over your head. And it's not human. And I'm not built for this. I'm really not. At some point I will disappear off the internet. I will, you know, get a cabin in the woods and hide away. But for now, I just feel too incredibly lucky to walk away from it, even though there are a lot of negatives. But if I could go back and never do it and never experience some of the things that I've experienced because of this job, I do think I would be like a happier person overall.
It's wild to me that this community is usually people waving the banner for empathy, but for some reason, when it comes to greater material conditions, like they become the target. Ironic because they aren't complaining that she isn't doing enough. It's simply because she's saying the spotlight isn't perfect. Yeah, but the reason why people get mad at that is because it comes across as basically something that is impossible to comprehend from the perspective of the average person. It's understandable, especially because they look at a person that's not dissimilar to them, right? Just a random schmo who basically won the lottery.